On this 2019 to 2025 Silverado 1500 with the 5.3 gas engine, P0113 is an intake air temperature sensor circuit code. In plain terms, the engine control module may be seeing an intake air temperature signal that does not make sense for the operating conditions. The truck may run normally, or it may have a check engine light with possible fueling, idle, or drivability complaints. The broad fault areas can include the multifunction intake air sensor itself, contamination on the sensing element, wiring or terminal problems at the sensor or engine control module, and related control module communication context. Start with the basic system checks, then follow a structured diagnostic approach instead of jumping straight into parts. The B75C multifunction intake air sensor is doing several jobs in one assembly, including mass airflow, humidity, barometric pressure, and intake air temperature sensing. For this P0113 path, keep the focus on IAT sensor 1, but remember the shared check also watches IAT sensor 2 and the intake air humidity sensor. IAT sensor 1 has a normal parameter range of -39 to 149 Celsius, -38 to 300 Fahrenheit. For IAT sensor 1, the ignition, serial data, and ground circuit rows each show -40 degrees Celsius, -40 Fahrenheit as the typical scan tool value. IAT sensor 2 also has a normal parameter range of -39 to 149 Celsius, -38 to 300 Fahrenheit, and its ignition, serial data, and ground circuit rows each show -40 degrees Celsius, -40 Fahrenheit. The intake air humidity sensor normal range is 5 to 95%, and its ignition, serial data, and ground circuit rows each shows 0%. The scan tool display range is between -40 and 150 degrees Celsius, -40 and 302 Fahrenheit. For P0113, treat the running conditions as the monitor gate, not as a parts decision by itself. The key voltage condition is ignition voltage greater than 8.5 volts, and once the required conditions are met, the monitor runs continuously. The setting formula for this target code is IAT sensor 1, warmer than 149 degrees Celsius, 300 degrees Fahrenheit, for greater than 5 seconds. With the ignition on and the vehicle in service mode, check the code picture first. If P0113 is the only code from this intake air temperature and humidity sensor circuit family, the diagnostic path points to the B75C multifunction intake air sensor. If other codes are present, especially communication or related intake sensor circuit codes, check what they mean first before treating P0113 by itself. If no code is set at the moment, watch the scan data for IAT sensor 1, IAT sensor 2, and the intake air humidity sensor. You are not just looking for a number, you are looking for a value that spikes or drops out. While monitoring those parameters, wiggle the harness and connectors at the B75C multifunction intake air sensor. Then do the same at the K20 engine control module. If a value spikes or drops out during that movement, repair the wiring, terminals, or electrical connectors as needed. Also, inspect the sensing element for contamination. If it can be cleaned, clean it. If the sensing element cannot be cleaned, the path supports replacing the sensor. Keep that tied to the actual inspection result. Do not use it as a shortcut around the circuit and connector checks. If the scan values stay stable during the harness and connector checks, reproduce the operating conditions for the code. You can also reproduce the captured conditions from the stored data. Then verify that P0113 does not reset. If it does reset and the return point is not clear, pause, recheck the earlier diagnostic path, and avoid guessing. After any repair, keep verification separate from testing. Clear the concern, run the vehicle back through the appropriate conditions, and confirm the code stays gone. If P0113 does not reset, call that part of the diagnosis good. The takeaway is simple. Confirm the code context first. Stress the sensor and ECM connections while watching live data. Address contamination only when you find it. And verify the repair under the same conditions. For more diagnostic training, visit stepdiagnostics.com.